Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. Today is Thursday, April the 4th, 2019. It's 4 p.m. in New York, 1 p.m. in Los Angeles. It is 9 p.m. in London, Sydney, Australia. Good morning, 8 a.m. there. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And Steve Rowell, that's the unhappy part. He can't join us today. The good news for Steve is manifesting new business absolutely like crazy, which is good for him. It's just bad for us because we can't have him as a co-host today. But as he so consistently does on those occasions where he can't join us, he has found yet another fascinating person for us to interview and talk with. And she is joining us today. This is Ruthi Cohen Joyner. She is a master of EFT, also known as tapping, and she's going to give us a bit of a demonstration and a general education about how all that works. But first, let me just welcome her. Ruthi, thank you for joining us at kind of last minute here on the program, but it's great to have you here.
Well, you're welcome, Walt. I'm glad to be here with you and everyone else joining us.
So why don't you first, Steve gave me a little bit of a bio on you, but I always like it better when the guest tells us about herself or himself. So tell us who Ruthi is. Tell us about you.
Okay, well, in my second incarnation, meaning this is my second career, if you will,
Okay.
I'm an EFT practitioner. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, or tapping is what most people know it as, where you literally tap on meridian endpoints on the body, and we'll play with that in a little bit. Hypnotherapist, life coach, matrix reimprinting coach, which is an offshoot of EFT that I
Hmm.
love, 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 and a big student of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and Lynn McTaggart's work. So I bring in a lot of the visualization, visioning. So I kind of call what I do matrix visioning. It's bringing it all together. So that's what I do these days with my clients.
Very cool. Yeah. And in your experience, is the second career a whole lot better than the first career? That's what I find most people say yes to.
Absolutely. So in my earlier incarnation, I was a dietitian, and I got to the point that if anybody else told me what they had to eat, I was gonna, I can't listen to it anymore. So
I'm done.
yes, yeah, I really did get done, like a baked potato done.
Understandable. Yes, no doubt about it. So great. Well, hey, one of the best things that anyone can do, and you've done it, and we urge our listeners to do it regularly, is to experiment and find what you love and then pursue what you love, and that's what I do with the podcast as well. I mean, it's all about following what you love. And when you do, boy, life just gets so much better, you know?
Yes, 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 yes.
It's wonderful what happens when you do that. So yeah, it's very cool stuff. So congratulations on making the shift. Congratulations on creating your new career. That's
Thank
exciting.
you. Yeah, seven
So
years
why don't we get,
in. Yeah, yeah,
how many years now?
7 years.
7 years. Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's fabulous. That's great.
Yeah, so one of my daughters said something along the lines of 7 years of famine and 7 years of feast. So I'm ready to go into the feast part
I
now.
hear you have that too. Yes, I'm totally on board. I get that. So, okay, well, let's get a little bit of basic level education about emotional freedom technique. Tell us about it. Tell us where it came from. Tell us why it's so special. I mean, I think most of our listeners have heard of it and have some knowledge of it, but it's always good to go over the basics.
I am going to go over the basics, but I want to put it in context of law of attraction or manifesting as we're talking about it. So,
Sure.
or the way I use it with people. So, excuse me, I'm going to clear my throat. Okay, so EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques. My understanding is the founder, Gary Craig, was an engineer who trained with Roger Callahan, and Roger Callahan was a therapist who created TFT, thought field therapy, which still exists. You can still learn thought field therapy. But my understanding is Gary Craig, because he was an engineer, simplified it and said, this doesn't need to be so complicated. We'll just come up with one way of doing things. And that's pretty much how EFT was born. And it's
Okay.
emotional freedom techniques because there's actually a couple different things that we do with it. But the
Oh,
main thing I want to focus on today with folks on manifesting is releasing the blocks. What's holding you back from believing you deserve or that you're worthy or creating what you want to create in your life?
Oh, I don't
So,
think any of our listeners will be interested in that at all. Nobody cares about
uh,
removing blocks.
yeah, I'm the only one, right?
You're in. That's it.
So all of those, I'm not good enough, it's too hard, I can't do it, whatever your flavor of that is, that's what I like to use the tapping for
Okay.
when I'm working on manifesting. So I did a program, I think it was last summer, called Manifest, where it was 21 days, and it's still available. I'll offer it to you folks later if you want. Um,
Great.
where we did like 5 minutes of tapping on Facebook Live. So I've got the recordings, and it was just 5 minutes a day of doing the tapping to work toward manifesting what you want in your life.
Does EFT require that you understand what the source of the blocks is in order to use it effectively?
That's a great question. So I'm going to say yes, maybe. How's that for a very clear answer?
Very
So
straightforward.
right. There's a saying in EFT that to be terrific, be specific. And what
Okay.
that means is the more specific you get, um, the more effective it is, I'll say. So
Okay.
for instance, let's just say you have a fear of speaking. And if I start talking with you, Walt, and you say, well, when I was in fourth grade, everybody laughed at me when blah, 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 when I got in front of the
Yeah, that's
class.
pretty. That's specific. That's pretty specific.
Yes. So what we would do, I would actually use matrix reimprinting, which I mentioned is an offshoot of EFT, and we would imagine going into that scene like it's a play. So I would have you imagine your fourth grade self there in front of the class, everybody laughing. We would freeze everybody else in the scene, and the adult you, would imagine going into this play. Okay?
Uh,
And so we would ask, or I would be leading you. I'll put it that way. So you're the practitioners leading you and asking your former self, "What are you feeling?" And they might be, "I'm so embarrassed.
mm,
I
sure.
just feel like I'm going to throw up. This is terrible."
Mm,
So we would do tapping on your former self on what they're feeling. And then we would ask them, "Well, if you could change this in any way, how would you want to change it?" "Well, I wish I had said, I don't know, the house is green instead of the house is blue. I don't know. I wish I had done something different." That's not really a good example. It needs to be more what people would have laughed at.
right. Right.
Um, so we would change that in your mind. So here's one thing to know, that we don't store our memories exactly as they happened, that we store them in different ways than how
Mm,
it really happened. And so we might exaggerate the heck out of everybody was laughing at me. Well, it might have been one person. You may not have remembered it the way it was. So anyway, so we kind of change your perception, we change the feelings. So usually what I'm looking for is helping people go from the victim stance, whatever that might be, feeling laughed at, feeling not good enough, feeling whatever, to an empowered way of being, of, oh, well, I could just say, yeah, I made a mistake. Whatever it is, let them, meaning the fourth grade self, come up with how they want to change it. Excuse me. And then we re-imprint that, meaning we're going to imagine bringing it into the brain, developing new neural pathways in the brain of the new way of thinking about whatever happened, bring it down into the heart, and then from the heart, broadcast it out to the whole body and then further out in a way that we're changing your energy around it. So
mm,
it's really EFT, matrix reimprinting, all of this is energy psychology. So we're changing the energy around the event. Now, having said that, this fear of public speaking, let's pretend that you're getting ready to speak in an event 2 weeks from now. And
okay.
you're like, I'm scared to death. So what we're going to do when we go back and we do the healing for the fourth grade self is then we're going to do what's called future re-imprinting. So we're going to imagine now that you've changed how you felt long ago to a more empowered, I can just admit I made a mistake and move on.
Hmm.
And, you know, I feel good about it. And we're going to bring that energy, the changed energy, the empowered energy, into seeing yourself on that stage 2 weeks from now, creating it like we do a lot of manifesting, creating it, believing it, feeling it, getting it in a deep, visceral way. So
Hmm.
that was a long answer to your question,
That's
right?
good though. It's a good answer. I like that. And I think we're going to probably also have to get a little specific to show how the whole thing works because one of our listeners is actually never not familiar with tapping. So she's saying, "What?" Sammy's asking, "What is tapping? What's this tapping thing?"
So we're going to do some in a minute. We'll definitely do it because yeah, it's weird. And when I first saw it, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So
Yeah.
it does look weird. I'm going to tell you that up front. So
Hmm.
I am going to teach you do you want me to go ahead and teach you the basics of how to
Yeah,
do it?
sure. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what we do when we do tapping is we have a tapping target. So can you think of something, Walt, that you'd want to work on?
Oh, geez. Let's see. Uh, you want it to be specific, right?
Well, it doesn't have to be. It could be, so let's go with the law of attraction idea. I have trouble, so as a practitioner, I might say I'm having trouble getting clients. Or, I don't
Uh,
know.
well, all right. Here's one. It's both me and my wife. My wife has a gardening and services business, and of course, it's now the time of year where we're opening the business again for the year. The only difficulty is my wife is tired of doing it, and we have it up for sale, but we don't have a buyer yet. So we want to get a buyer.
Okay. All right. So first question I want to ask you, do you believe that you can sell this business quickly and easily? So percentage, 100%, yes, we can do it. Zero, not going to happen.
Without a time frame, 100%.
Okay, so let's make it more specific that we can sell it this month. It's only the 4th. You've got several days here,
I'd say 50% for that.
50%.
Yeah.
And that 50%, what makes you think, I don't know. So what are the beliefs, what are the thoughts that are in your head that I don't know if this is going to happen?
Well, we're working through a business broker. And
Okay.
the business broker, when I asked him point blank, what should we expect for a normal time to get this done? He said 9 months. And
Mm,
we said, well, we want to try to sell it quicker than that. Can we get it done in a month? And he said, maybe. So I'm basing it on the quote reality unquote that he gave us.
okay. All right, but I'm going to ask you, so in EFT, we do a lot of checking in with the body. This is a mind, body, spirit
Okay.
modality. So I'm going
Oh,
to ask you, hello, kitty.
my cat likes to walk across keyboards. I think I just lost the video, so I'll have to get that back.
Yeah, it
But
says no one else is sharing video. So,
yeah,
oops.
there. I should be back now.
But you're not. I'm still seeing. Oh, now
Oh,
I
you're
do.
not?
Not yet.
Oh, you know, I
Yep.
see it. Okay, good. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
it's got a little bit of delay.
Okay. So we're going to tap on cats. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
The cat's tapping me right down the shoulder. So,
Okay.
yes, buddy, I know you're not getting enough attention. Here, come on over here. Just sit in my lap for a little bit. Okay,
Okay. Little lap time. Okay.
that's right.
So when you think about selling it and only 50% believing it's possible this month, I want you to kind of tune into your heart and what do you feel? We're looking for the feeling now, not the thought.
What do I feel in terms of the likelihood?
Yeah, I'm looking for, is there, I'm scared, is there mm,
Oh, I see what.
disappointment, is there,
I think it's more along the lines of I'm not sure we're going to find somebody that quickly. It's not that I doubt that we can find somebody. It's just that this is not something that you can just go out and sell in a grocery store. You have to find the right person for it. So that's where it is. Like, can we really do it that fast? I don't know. I mean, it
okay,
would be
so
great if I could just sell it in the grocery store. That'd be really quick. You set up a store, a little display aisle on the end cap. You're done, right?
that would be nice. Yeah, I wish I could sell my services that easily too. Anyway,
Yeah, right.
yeah. Okay, so those are still thoughts, but we'll go ahead and start tapping with thoughts because that's
That's true.
fine.
Yeah, I haven't given you an emotion. So what's the emotion attached to that? Um, I guess it's a level of doubt.
Okay.
It's yeah, like a distrust or a mistrust. Like, yeah, I know it could happen. I know it could happen, but How sure am I? Ooh, it's like it's kind of a milky, I'm not 100% sure kind of thing.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let me give you the basics of EFT, how to do it, and then we're going to do it with this example.
Okay.
All right. So now that we have a tapping target, it makes it easier to talk about it. So what we do is we tap on the side of the hand, and I hope I'm showing that well enough. And those of you on audio, if there's anybody that's not watching, so not the thumb side, but the other side of the hand under the pinky finger. Am
Mm-hmm.
I explaining that well enough? I always have trouble
Like
figuring out
the
how to
meat
do
of
that
the
on
hand, like
audio.
doing a karate chop that side of the hand.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be called karate chop, and then that was considered not politically correct. So it's the side of
Oh,
the
I
hand.
see. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And we're going to do what's called a setup phrase. So it's going to be something along the line of, even though I am unsure, or even though I'm not sure that we can sell this business that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then we say a positive. And so the original way I learned it was, I love and accept myself.
Okay.
So we could get into a long discussion about my feelings about that, and we're not going to do that right now. We're just going to say something along the line of, I'm okay, or I accept these feelings. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So I should repeat that. I'm
When
okay
we do it in a minute, when we do
when I
it.
do.
So this
Okay.
is now, I'm just telling you
This
what
is
we're going to
the
do. And then
prep.
when we actually do it, play Simon
Got
Says with me. So,
it. Got it. Okay. All right.
so we're going to do that 3 times on the side of the hand. I like to take a deep breath, and then we're going to do what's called a round. And I go to the eyebrow point first. So just lightly tap here. And by the
Okay.
way, anybody watching, if you want to tap along with us, I'm going to ask you to play by getting your stress level right now. So 0 to 10. 10 is I'm totally stressed out. 0, I could fall asleep, zen. Find your stress level right now. So just for fun, what is yours, Walt? Just come
Right
up with a
now?
number. Yeah,
Oh,
your stress level.
anytime I do the podcast, it's very close to zero. It's either one or zero. It's always very low because I just
Okay,
love
cool.
doing this so much.
All
Yeah.
right. So you're not a good example at all. So
I'm sorry. I just, I did my best. I mean,
okay, well, most people are going to fall somewhere in the 3, 4, 5 if they're, you know, and if somebody's really stressed, it's going to be 6, 7, 8. So just for right
okay.
now, playing with me, other people other than Walt who have a little stress, just come up with a number and just we're going to lightly tap here. And you can do these just so you get comfortable with the spots.
Okay.
And so when we do this in a minute for real, we'll do what's called a reminder phrase. So it'll be something like, I'm not sure we're going to sell it, or we're not going to sell it that fast. Okay, we're going to say some kind of reminder. Side note, we speak the truth. So I know in law of attraction and positive thinking, etc., we're always taught to think positive, say positive things, etc., etc. But I'm going to give you an example. If your cat threw up in the floor right now and you put the rug on top of it, would it still be there?
In my mind or in reality?
In reality.
In reality, yeah, I guess it'd probably still be
Yeah,
there.
it's still going to be there. It's going to stink. It's going to be gross. So what we do in EFT is we pull that rug back. We find what's really going on, and we get honest with how we're feeling and perceiving things in that moment. So we're looking at the beliefs, thoughts, and feelings around whatever it is. So we're going to be honest. It
Well,
might
that's actually
be
not all that different from being a deliberate creator, really. Because, I mean, a deliberate creator, you have to start with where you're feeling before you can get to where it is you're trying to get to. You can't just jump there in many cases. It's too far of a jump. So you have to
right.
climb the ladder, so to speak. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Bingo. Yes. So that's exactly where we start with tapping. So even, I mean, I've had people say I could kill my son, things that you would never say,
Right.
publicly, but it's what you're feeling in that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So the eyebrow point, our next point, and when we really do this, I'll probably take my glasses off, but the next one is the
Oh, okay.
side of the eye because it's a little challenging. Yours are a little thinner, mine are kind of thick, but
Yeah, I got that little thin band there, so I can maybe can get around it.
yeah. So the next one's the side of the eye. So everybody with me, just kind of play with tapping these because I just want to notice if stress levels go down. The next one is under the eye. So yeah, right on that bone under the eye. And most people do 2 fingers. You don't have to. And the next one's under the nose. The next one is called the chin, but it's actually the little cleft between the lip and the chin.
Okay.
And the next one's called the collarbone, and I think in inches, not, what is it, centimeters, I guess. So
Yeah.
go find your collarbone and then go down an inch and out an inch, and you'll find there's like a little notch there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point that we want to play with. And you can do both sides or one side, doesn't matter. The next point is called the underarm, and it's about 4 inches under the arm. So for women, that's about the bottom of the bra line. And some
Mhm.
people do this crossbody thing. That's not real comfortable for me, so I just do the same side.
Okay.
And there's some other points we're not going to go to today, but the next one is the top of the head. And this is called the governing meridian. So this one's a pretty important
Makes
one.
sense.
Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
by the way, what we're tapping on, these points aren't just made up points. This is we are tapping on endpoints of the meridian system that's used in ancient Chinese medicine. So acupressure. It's the same points.
It
You're
is the
just
same.
doing
Okay.
yeah, it's just a light stimulation you can do for yourself. And EFT can be done by yourself, and you work with a practitioner when you need to. So again, a little aside, and then we'll get into it, that my analogy is it's like dental health. Hopefully everybody's brushing their teeth every day, and hopefully flossing's coming in there sometimes, right? You have some kind of at-home way of taking care of your dental health.
Now that would make an interesting survey, but we won't go there.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. But if you had a cavity you needed filled, or you needed a root canal or some other major work, you would go to a professional, right? You would go to a dentist or a orthodontist or whoever, periodontist, whoever, to work on that. So that's kind of how I see tapping or EFT. If you want to heal past traumas, which EFT is fabulous for traumas. As a matter of fact, it's recently been approved by the Veterans Administration for PTSD in soldiers. So
Really?
yes,
Interesting.
very high statistically significant effectiveness with EFT and PTSD, and not just for soldiers, for everyone. I'm not an expert on research and numbers and statistics, but there are over 100 studies showing EFT is effective today. And so there
Wow.
are definitely websites you can go to learn more about EFT, and there's a new video out on the science of tapping. So for those of you who are science geeks, yes, you can find information on that. I'm just not your best source for that.
No, that's all
Anyway,
right. That's no problem. And actually, I've got a couple of comments I wanted to share from the live stream audience. Sammy, the same person who was asking before about tapping, was saying she wants to win the lottery. That's her big goal that she's trying to do here. So I thought I'd
okay.
let you know that. And then Jeffrey, when we got to the point where we were taking the stress measurement, he says he's so calm right now, probably a 2. So
Ooh.
I'm not sure if that's just because of the conversation or what, but
Well, I would
we got
like
a
to know
full
where it
bonus.
was to begin with. So if it's a 2 now, where did he start? So Jeffrey, let us
Good
know
question.
where it
Yeah, well,
started.
good start, Jeff. And he will. Give him about a minute or two. We'll have an answer there.
Okay, so I do want to say on the science end that my understanding is we're lowering the cortisol level, which is your stress hormone. So that
Mm.
is what we're doing with tapping, so that it does have a physiological effect in the body. Okay.
So in that sense, tapping is kind of on the same path as meditation, because meditation is for the same purpose, for reducing stress, bringing the metabolism down, getting into a calmer state.
Yes. And there's one of the studies is on tapping and gene regulation
Oh, no
and
kidding.
how it changes the genes. Yeah. And
Wow.
my personal thing is 1 + 1 = 1,000, meaning tapping plus meditation is not 1 + 1 = 2. It is so
Ah,
effective to do the two together that it's 1,000,
it's
way
Jimmy.
higher.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I got it. Very
All
good.
right.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to ask Sammy, Jeffrey, anybody else listening, and you, Walt, to well, we have your focus. We're focusing on selling the gardening business for you.
Right.
For
Yep.
everybody else, I want you to get something that you can focus on. So Sammy's focusing on winning the lottery
Mm-hmm.
and whatever anybody else wants to focus on. So I
Mm-hmm.
want you to think about your percentage of believing that's possible in the next month, since we're choosing a month. So we've
Okay.
got yours, 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to let them pick theirs before we do this.
All right.
Okay. And if anybody has water or anything to drink, I'm going to invite you to take a sip, because what this is, as I said, is energy psychology, and you need to be well hydrated to do energy work.
Always a good idea. I make sure I get liquid into me before I do a podcast, so I'm totally on board.
Gotcha. One more thing I need to share because it will probably happen when I start tapping is that good signs of energy shifts are yawning, sighing, or even burping. And
Okay.
yes, and I yawn a lot when I tap with people. So I have to tell
Okay.
my clients, if I start yawning, it doesn't mean you're boring me. It's because
That's right.
I'm tapping with you and I'm getting the benefit. So, all right.
Okay.
So I'm going to use mainly your words, but
Hmm.
I'm going to be a little more generic because we're bringing in other people's
Right.
beliefs in our little demo here. So I'm going to take
Yeah,
my
there's
glasses
going to
off.
be a lot of people who end up seeing this and listening, or actually listening to this, most of it. So, yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Okay. So we'll do a little of both. All right. So I'm going to ask, are you ready to tap with me now, Walt?
I am ready. I'm just doing quick response on some of the. I want to make sure the live stream audience gets a little, attention. So, okay,
Yeah,
I'm done.
sure. Of course. All right. So I'm going to ask you and everybody else to just start
Okay.
tapping on the side of the hand.
Okay.
Take a deep breath with me, repeating after me. Even though I don't know if I believe this is possible,
Even though I don't know if I believe this is possible,
I'm choosing to love and accept myself anyway.
I'm choosing to love and accept myself anyway.
So even though I don't believe this 100% right now,
Even though I don't believe this 100% right now,
I'm choosing to accept my feelings.
I'm choosing to accept my feelings.
So even though, and I'm going to go specific for you right now, even though I just don't know if we can sell this business in a month,
Even though I just don't know if we can sell this business in a month,
I'm open to the possibility
I am definitely open to the possibility
that maybe I can change my belief,
that maybe I can change my belief,
release my blocking beliefs,
release my blocking beliefs,
and attract it to me today.
and attract it to me today. Ooh.
Why not? All right,
Yeah.
everybody take a deep breath and go to the eyebrow.
Okay.
I don't know if this is possible.
I don't know if this is possible.
Side of the eye. And again, you can do one or both, it doesn't matter. I just don't know if this can happen this quickly.
I just don't know if this can happen this quickly.
Under the eye. I have a lot of doubt.
I have a lot of doubt,
Under the nose. And I'm just acknowledging how I feel.
and I'm just acknowledging how I feel.
Again, and maybe I'm feeling this doubt in my chest.
And maybe I'm just feeling this doubt in my chest.
Under the arm. No, I'm sorry, collarbone. Maybe I have a lot of distrust.
Maybe I have a lot of distrust.
Under the arm. It hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet,
Top of the head. But maybe it could.
but maybe it could.
All right, so we're going to stop tapping and we're going to take a deep breath. So, trying to decide which way to do this. One of the things that happens when you start doing tapping is that you get more resourceful. You think more clearly, and you may have ideas pop into your head of, oh, well, I wonder if I should call so and so.
Mm.
So, whenever that happens, that's a beautiful sign your intuition's working with you. So, definitely pay attention to those little hits you get during tapping.
Okay.
And we didn't use the SUDS level. I may or may not explain that, but I want you to go back to that percentage. 50% believe it's possible this will happen this month, and tell me if it's exactly the same after a teeny bit of tapping, if it's gone down or if it's gone up.
Oh, I'm
And
always bad at doing an evaluation that's that subtle. Uh, on the one hand, whenever I'm doing a show, I always feel more and more positive as time goes on. But I'm not sure if I could give you an idea that yes, it's definitely more or less or the same. It's just I'm vague. I'm sorry. I'm just not a good subject from that point of view.
That's okay. And just so you know, I'm not seeing your video right now, so I'm not sure what happened.
Oh, well, it does that every once in a while. I don't know why
Okay.
it is, but my video likes to kick out, so I'll do a little thing to try to kick it back.
Okay.
This may take a moment, but go ahead and continue.
Well, we've got an interesting blurry look now. Ah, there you are. Perfect.
Oh, good.
Okay. So I want to ask you if you had any thoughts pop into your mind, anything you want to share, anything that might have jogged a thought in your head.
Well, this is fairly typical with anything that we're discussing, but I just feel, and it's hard to distinguish here. It's hard to tell whether this is because of the tapping or because this is the way it normally goes for me in a podcast. But as a podcast goes on, I feel lighter and lighter. I feel I have more energy. I have more of a sense of the energy around me. I can feel aura better. I can, all that stuff, and that's definitely happening here. And it's been happening particularly in the last few minutes. So is that the tapping? I'm not sure, but I'm definitely experiencing that.
Okay, well, that is a very common side effect of tapping. Yes,
Okay.
almost everybody feels lighter. So maybe it is the podcast, but maybe it's the tapping. All right, so we're going to do some more tapping.
They may work together. It may be like meditation and tapping. I mean, maybe they turn it into 1,000, you know?
Exactly. I love
Yeah.
that. Yep. All right, back to the side of the hand.
Okay.
Even though I'm still not sure this is going to happen this month,
Even though I'm still not sure this is going to happen this month,
I'm accepting how I feel.
I'm accepting how I feel.
So even though I have a lot of doubt,
So even though I have a lot of doubt,
because we need just the right person,
oh, yes, we definitely need just the right person.
I'm still open to the possibility it could happen
I am still open to the possibility that it can happen
and that it could happen this month.
and that it could happen this month.
This isn't generic for everybody else, but I'm going to throw it out anyway. So it is spring.
It certainly is. It is spring.
And this is when people are really interested in gardening.
Oh, absolutely. This is definitely when people are interested in gardening.
So this is the most likely time this could happen.
No doubt. Absolutely true. This is the time when it's most likely to happen. Yep.
And I am so grateful that we're timing this just right.
I am very grateful that we're timing this just right.
All right, we're going to go around the
These are
points.
easy to tap into because I've already been tapping into these. So these are easy. I like these.
Perfect, perfect. So going to the eyebrow,
Okay.
taking that breath. I still have some doubt,
Still have some doubt.
but maybe it really is possible. Side of the eye, I'm sorry, I didn't say that.
Yep. Maybe it really is possible.
Under the eye, maybe it's very possible we could sell it this month.
No, maybe it's very possible we could sell it this month.
Under the nose, maybe the buyer is watching right now.
Oh, I love that. Maybe the buyer is watching right now.
Chin, maybe just the right person can't wait to buy our business right now.
Yeah, maybe just the right person can't wait to buy the business right now.
Collarbone, maybe it really can happen this month.
Maybe it really can happen this month. Yeah.
Under the arm, I'm really open to the possibility it can happen this month.
I am really open to the possibility it can happen this month.
Top of the head, I am totally aligned with believing it can happen this month.
I am totally aligned in believing that it can happen this month.
Okay, so we're going to take another deep breath. And I know we're kind of doing this for demo purposes. We're not going as deep as I would normally go with somebody, that I'm working with individually. Right. But I'm going to ask you to go back to that percentage. So you were saying that you believed at about 50% that you could find a buyer this month. So I know you said you're not great at that, but I'm going to ask you to see if you can come up with a number.
You're going to love this. I don't know if I can come up with a number, but I definitely feel more comfortable. I feel more confident about the whole thing. Right now, I would be unsurprised and unshocked if the phone were to ring right now saying, hey, I heard you have a business for sale. I'd really be interested in talking to you about it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, okay. So playing with this some more, since I told you that when I work with people, I put tapping and meditation together. So we're just gonna speed this process up a little bit. And
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes and put your hands over your heart and just take a deep breath with me. And I'm gonna ask you to really feel into seeing that person, feeling the feelings of selling that business. Just go through the process in your mind of all of it happening in such a beautiful way. Yeah, really focusing on growing the feelings, feeling really good, being in that joy and excitement. And lastly, bring in the feeling of gratitude. Oh, so grateful that this is happening. And grow that feeling 10 times stronger and 100 times stronger and 1,000 times stronger. I am so grateful this is happening. It feels fabulous.
I am
I am
so
so
grateful. This
grateful.
is fabulous.
Yes. All right, and just open your eyes.
Hmm.
And now
Boy.
you're going to have to let us know when it sells.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Well, I will be letting people know when it sells. And I can't, again, can't say I'm surprised, but during that last segment there, especially when you were talking about growing and growing the feeling and the belief, huge amounts of light energy growing out. Huge amounts. It was great. I like that.
Well, yeah, I love it. So Joe Dispenza says that gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership.
Hmm. A lot of people say that actually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I attribute it to him because that's who I heard it from.
That's okay. He's a good source. I like that.
Yeah. So when I work with people, we definitely get around to being grateful for whatever it is we want to create. So that
Hmm.
that it is that gratitude that brings it to you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, gratitude plays a huge role. What do you call it? Gratitude or appreciation? I prefer appreciation just because I think it's a little bit higher energy, but I
Okay.
understand it's essentially the same concept. And boy, is it really true. When you get to that really high place of appreciation, I even had there was one podcast that I did with one of my co-hosts where we explored that concept about the similarity and differences between appreciation and gratitude. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Abraham Hicks emotional guidance scale. Yeah,
Yes.
appreciation right at the top of that scale. And I thought it's interesting. They put that at the top of the scale. They don't actually use the word gratitude. They use appreciation. They put it right at the top of the scale, and they put it up there with joy. And I said to myself and out loud on the podcast at the time, I'm not sure if I ever felt appreciation at that high a level. I wonder if I'm missing the boat or something. So we talked about it quite a bit. And ever since that show, appreciation for me has been off the scale. So, I mean, it's just interesting, it's law of attraction, obviously, because I was focusing on a new want and the new want came in. But now appreciation has that same light that I was just talking about, has that same, and I don't know if I can convey this clearly enough, but I have never been a great visualizer. If I were to rank my senses, I would put sight fifth. I mean, it's really my weakest sense.
Yeah.
Creating images in my mind, always terrible at it. Most of the time, they were dark and dingy and so forth. But over the last, oh, 9 months or so, starting with when one of my uh, newer co-hosts joined me. Her name's Linda Armstrong. She is completely an energy coach, and she led me through some stuff to help build up my receptiveness to energy and so forth. Since that time, and because of other conversations I've had with other coaches and other co-hosts and so forth, I'm finding that my ability to see energy in the sense that people see things internally has increased substantially. So when I'm saying that I'm seeing this light, I'm getting excited because, oh my God, I'm really seeing light. I'm seeing something. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is cool. That is so
Mm.
cool.
Especially when it's new like that, because it is relatively new for me.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about appreciation and gratitude and the difference. And I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm gonna have to play with that one, Walt. I don't really know the difference. So you kind of got me on that one. But I want to play with gratitude for a minute since I know that term better.
That's
Um,
fine. Yeah.
well, when I started hearing the idea, gratitude journal, gratitude practice, et
Mhm.
cetera, and I tried to get my husband to get this, and I said, "What are you grateful for?" And he
Mhm.
would say, "You, the kids, the house, my job." Like
That's a good
totally,
start.
well, but it was totally thought level, right? I mean, there was no feeling in it. It was just yeah, here's things I'm grateful for. And
Yep.
it wasn't specific as far as anything that day. You know what I mean? It was just, okay, here's my life, wife, kids, house, job.
That's what I call the I'm done process.
Basically. Yeah. So to me, the thought level is the starting point, right? Is when you can think it.
Yep.
But then when you can start feeling it, like we're talking
Mhm.
about with law of attraction, and I want to say when you go down to the visceral level, to the gut level, to the knowing level,
Mhm.
that's when you get the big shifts. That's when the
Oh,
big
totally.
ahas happen. So I'm
Yeah.
going to use a personal example. I was driving a 12-year-old car with 200,000 plus miles on it. I mean, I had had the car for 12 years. So it was actually a
Mhm.
13-year-old car. And as I mentioned, being a coach, the 7 years of famine, going into the 7 years of peace. Well, I didn't have consistent enough income to say, yeah, car payment, here we go.
Mhm.
So I started with what I do with it. Here it is. Started with my vision board. Put the car
Oh,
I
very good.
wanted here on the vision board.
There
And
you
when I
go.
first did this, I think this was January 2017. Yeah. I put it on there, but with the thoughts and the beliefs of, I can't afford it. I don't know how in the world this is going to happen. I can't
Right.
make consistent car payments, and I can't ask him to pay for anything else. So, I had all these negative thoughts, beliefs, whatever. And it wasn't until I started getting into the feeling of believing, actually, I do deserve a new car. This is ridiculous that I'm driving a car with 200,000 miles on it. The more I was getting into the feeling, the believing, et cetera, it wasn't until I got it on the deep visceral level. Yes, I do deserve this. Yes, I am so grateful for my new car. I really love my new car. And I went and drove one, the one that I wanted, and found out that that one had been wrecked. I don't buy new cars. That's just
I guess not. No.
well, no, I just mean to me that a new car is a waste of money. I want to wait till it's depreciated a little bit. So, that whole idea when you drive it off the lot, it's um, what it's worth, its value goes down. Anyway, I ended up buying the car 3 weeks after I really got it on a deep level. Yeah, this
Oh,
car is
nice.
mine. Yeah, I deserve this. Absolutely. And I am so grateful for it. And so I was doing the meditation, visualizing every day, seeing me in that car. And so I hope it's okay. Can I share my screen here for a moment?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
If it'll
Obviously,
let
our
me.
podcast listeners won't be able to see the screen, but we'll describe to them what we're seeing.
Okay, hang on. I don't know if I can get this to full size.
We're
Let's
seeing it
see.
pretty well.
Okay. I move you over there. Oops.
Yeah,
Didn't
we've
have to
got
do
your
this.
slideshow now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here, this was the picture of the car that was in my Mind movie. Actually, I used Mind movies. And then here I am when I bought it in March, a few months later. So
Wow,
anyway, just
that
wanted
is
to,
such a close match. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
That's really something. Yeah, very nice.
Anyway, so my whole point to that being when I got to that space of really being grateful for it, really knowing it on that deep visceral level. And by the way, when I add, I tapped on my all my doubts and beliefs and
Hmm.
thoughts. All the I can't afford this, all of that. I did tapping work on that and the meditation until I got it on that deep level, and then there it was.
When you get it, you get it. Yeah. So when we're talking about tapping, we're talking about it as a method, at least in this case, we're talking about it as a method for getting past those blocks so that we're no
Yes.
longer blocked and now we're down to the point where we can really feel it, we can experience it. It's actually a part of our life and it's bound to manifest now because we believe in it so strongly.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
cool. That's
Yeah.
a good method.
Yeah, tapping is used in many different ways. I'm just focusing on what fits your audience. So I
Right.
will say it's used for healing phobias, and Whoopi Goldberg healed her fear of flying with it. And it's
Did you really?
yeah, and phobias are actually one of the easiest things to do with tapping.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
and healing traumas. So I mentioned soldiers with PTSD, but I work with a lot of women who are dealing with sexual abuse stuff, and we can
Mm,
heal that stuff. So it totally changes your worthiness and your deservedness and believing that you can have what you want in your life. So those are just a couple examples. Oh, it's physical pain. It's very good for physical pain. So
hmm.
it's used in a lot of different ways.
Interesting. Okay. How did you get involved in it in the first place? I mean, what was the sequence of events that got you there?
Well, that's okay. A little personal, but
Oh, well,
so
no, if it's too personal,
no, no, no,
don't
it's
go.
okay. So I told you I was a nutritionist, dietitian in my former life, and I got into that because of my own eating and weight issues. So
Ah,
where I originally found EFT was on Dr. Mercola's website. Joseph Mercola, I think is his first name,
I think
and
I
he has
recognize.
a lot of functional medicine nutrition stuff. So I
Mm-hmm.
was looking at nutrition information when I found EFT, and
Good.
that was in 2009, so 10 years ago. And when I
Mm-hmm.
first looked at this thing about tapping, I thought it was a joke. I seriously thought, this is
Well,
ridiculous.
it does look ridiculous,
It
doesn't it?
does look ridiculous. But the Tapping World Summit, which the Ortners put on, so Nick Ortner, Jessica Ortner, his sister, and Alex Ortner, so it's two brothers and a sister, are the tapping solution. And
Ah,
they put on the Tapping World Summit every February.
mm-hmm.
And the 2011 Tapping World Summit's where I really got hooked. And I thought, I have got to learn this. And so I started out working with emotional eating, and I still work with emotional eating with clients. But
Mm-hmm.
today, manifesting is my favorite thing to play with now. So,
Well, manifesting's fun. I mean, let's just be perfectly honest about it. It's fun when stuff happens. I mean, you told your car story, and I've told a story that our listeners have heard a lot of, but so I won't do the whole thing. It's actually a very involved story, but this was in 2013 to 14. Louise and I were living in Virginia, and she wanted to move back to Connecticut, and I had to admit Virginia really wasn't a good place for us to be. So that part was fine. The problem was we had no money. We had a 12-year-old and 11-year-old car, similar to yours. We had acquired these cats as well as a couple of other cats, and we had no place up here that we could really afford. And also, she would have to get a job, and we had no way to get her a job without coming up here. And we didn't have the money to come up here. Well, we could scrape together some money to come up here for a trip. And the long story short is we had to make two trips, which the first trip was a disaster. So that made it even more painful economically. But we made a second trip, and on the second trip, we ended up getting both an apartment and a job for her in one trip. Came home and realized we had 2 weeks to complete a move from Virginia to Connecticut because of the requirement of her job. And in that 2 week period, we went through a crazy series of events where we found home. Well, long over the long haul, we found homes for two of the cats. We had four cats that we had inherited that had been abandoned by people across the road. We kept two of them. Two of them we ended up taking to the shelter and ended up finding homes for them after that. We made the move. The move was made with the idea that we were going to sell one of the cars and bring the truck with us. The car sold the day before we moved, and on the day that I sold it, I drove it back home just before I sold it, just in time to find out that it had drained all the oil out of it, and the guy bought it anyway at my price. And then the mover was supposed to drag the truck up behind his truck to Connecticut. Came and told us we found out we can't legally do that, so now we have this truck. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do with it on the day of the move. And one of his movers says, "Are you interested in selling that truck? We'd be interested in buying." Made the move. Crazy. All this crazy stuff is happening in this 2 week period. We're packing like crazy. All this stuff. Get moved up, and then when we arrive, we realize we don't own a car because we just got rid of all of our cars. And so we went to a car dealer in this rental that we had, and didn't really cut any kind of good deals or anything like that, but made made a little progress and went home like, no, this isn't going to work. Next day we went to another dealer, and that dealer just absolutely bent over backwards. Long story short, he ended up leasing us 2 cars at about a 45% discount off the normal lease rate. I mean, it was just insane. So all these things happened in a short period of time. And what was really cool is neither one of us had ever owned a new car before. So
Wow. Yeah.
yeah. Now we didn't do it with
Yes.
tapping, right? But we did do it with, actually, you know what it was more than anything else? It wasn't even so much the visualization. It was letting go of the doubt. It was just like giving up because we were so overwhelmed by all the things that could possibly go wrong that we were in overload. And
Yeah.
so the only thing to do was just to give up and say, well, we'll just go with whatever happens. And then all this stuff happened. It was crazy. But it certainly would have been easier if we'd had something like tapping to get us into that better emotional place because it was a bit of a roller coaster, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's such a beautiful story because it is, right? When it's right, when you're aligned with what's supposed to happen,
Hmm.
it just starts happening and you attract it. It happens. And
Crazy, too, when it happened.
yeah, it starts with getting those parking spaces that you
Yeah,
want.
that's
And
right.
then, before you know it, and I can honestly say now that I have a little saying, my own little quote is, when gratitude becomes a way of life, happiness and abundance flow. And
Mm.
so the more that I live grateful for every day, appreciate that the sun's out today and it's 70 degrees. And I'm in North Carolina. We had a crazy freak snowstorm 2 days ago. It was
No
weird.
kidding. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
it
unusual.
was really weird. Anyway,
Yeah.
it didn't last that long. It was a couple hours and gone. But the point that snow on April 2nd, what?
In North
Anyway,
Carolina. Yeah, that's a lot.
it is very weird. We're not in Connecticut. So anyway, just appreciating every little thing. And I have a little saying, I have the best life ever, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. And I just say it all the time because I truly feel it and believe it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so things just keep happening. What you're talking about, it's like, oh, yes, thank you for, whatever it is I'm looking for, just showing up. It happens a lot.
I think a lot of it too is, and I suspect this is also probably true when you're doing tapping, it probably accentuates it. But I think what happens over time is we just simply notice more because
Mhm.
stuff's happening all the time. But unless we're attuned to being deliberate creators, we don't notice. In fact, a lot of it can happen just it's outside of our awareness. And so we
Yeah,
assume that it didn't happen.
yeah,
But when you
yeah.
start becoming aware, it's like, oh wow, this stuff's really happening. This is crazy.
Well, and I love what you said about clearing the doubt. Back
Mm.
to Nick Ortner with the tapping solution, I heard him speak in 2016, and he shortened what we do in tapping to 3 C's, and that is calm, clear, and create. So, I mentioned in the beginning that it lowers your cortisol level, so it calms you down. So when you're
Right.
feeling anxious, stressed, angry it's really good for anger when you're really mad in the moment to just start tapping to calm yourself. And it's really good to teach children. There's a program called Tapping in the Classroom, and there's books out for children because teaching children how to regulate themselves, how to calm themselves is huge. Anyway, so you're calming yourself with this, and as I mentioned before, you start resourcing, meaning that you think more clearly as you're clearing doubt, as you're
Hmm.
clearing worry, as you're clearing stress, then you can think more clearly. And you'll think,
Hmm.
oh, well, maybe we should try that dealer or whatever. And the
Yeah.
third C is create. So the calm, clear, and create so that you create what you want to bring into your life. So
My
it's
cat
fun.
has my cat has tried to type something into Facebook. I have to try to clear it. So where
I didn't mean it. The cat said it, not me.
it's all ones. There's a whole bunch of ones.
It's saying you're number one. You're
That's
important.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he freaked out the page actually.
Uh-oh.
I'll have to oh, I'm sorry, bud. I'll have to reload the page so that I can see because I think people are commenting, but I'm just not seeing what they're saying. So give me a moment and I'll get that.
Okay.
But
I'll let
yeah,
you get to
so
work.
tapping. Let's go back to tapping. And you used another term earlier on when you were giving your little bio. You said there's something else that you do that is kind of like an extension of tapping, or it's like the next
Matrix
level.
re-imprinting.
Matrix. That's what it was. Talk
Yeah.
about that for a little bit.
Okay. So the matrix re-imprinting was the example I gave of going back into the past and actually working with the younger self. And we have a term for that called the echo, and that stands for energy consciousness hologram. So you don't have to remember that part, but it's just
Okay.
that part of you that was stuck at the time of the trauma. So say you had a car wreck. So by the way, it doesn't have to be a childhood self. It could be from 3 weeks ago.
Hmm.
Um, for instance, I worked with a woman on her cancer diagnosis, and we worked on the trauma and shock of getting the diagnosis. So
Ooh.
just in that moment, there's that. So we did tapping on calming that. So we worked with herself from just a couple months ago when she got that diagnosis. So there's many different ways of working with it, but matrix reimprinting is where you go into the past and work specifically with that memory. So like I say, it's like going into a play. You're going
Mm.
into the memory, and it doesn't matter if you can visualize it well or not, Walt. It's just the feeling of it, the energy of it.
Good. I'm
And then,
reassured.
yes. And then we go into future reimprinting, which is just the idea that we start seeing what we want to happen in the future
Hmm.
and we re-imprint it, meaning we bring it into the body. So when I was saying raise the feeling 10%, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, that to me is part of the future re-imprinting. It's seeing what you want to have happen and then growing the feeling even stronger.
Okay.
So,
So it's basically starting with the tapping as the foundation as a way to kind of get the process started and then building the momentum
well,
in
it's
later.
actually in matrix reimprinting, you're using tapping to do whatever you want to do with it. So it may be clearing the emotions from that earlier self.
Okay.
So we might be, even though I'm so angry or whatever, so we're going to clear emotions for the younger self, and then we're going to bring in the positive emotions for where you want to be. So I know I've probably made it confusing, kind of jumping around a little bit, but I will say that EFT, that you can go to YouTube. There's many people with YouTube. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, but one of the big names is Brad Yates. He has a
Hmm.
lot of things on YouTube.
Okay.
But remember what I said about to be terrific, be specific.
Yes.
So keep in mind that whatever you do on YouTube, it's that level, right? It's at the brushing your teeth level. If
Right,
you've
right.
got deep, deep stuff you want to heal, it makes sense to work with a well-trained EFT practitioner, just like anything
So,
else. You get what you pay for, right?
so with that thought in mind, why don't you tell people how they can reach out to you?
Okay, cool. So I recently spoke at an event called Shift Charlotte, which is a mind, body, spirit event here in Charlotte, and I created a page specifically that I'm going to give you guys the link to because I'm offering my Manifest program, which is a 21-day, 5 minutes of tapping program for $20 off. So it's normally $47. It's $27 at this link, which is
Great.
yourtappingjourney.com/shift.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can put that in the comments or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
your,
Yeah. We'll add it to the description.
okay, yourtappingjourney.com forward slash shift, just the word shift. And it does ask for your email. I'll just be honest about that. And then you'll get my current offers at the best prices that they're offered today. So the Manifest program, since we're talking about manifesting, and I also have a course coming out on Insight Timer, which is a meditation app. So as soon as it gets through the review process and gets out, it'll be on there. But for right now, I'm offering it for $21. It's 10 days of 10 minutes, 10 minutes ish of tapping and meditation and some little tools that I like to use and then we go to the end with creating and manifesting. And if you buy it directly from me for the $21, you get a free 20-minute targeted tapping session. So it'd be
Oh,
by Zoom. Yeah, and it would be on one specific thing that we just would spend 20 minutes on.
so
So
kind of like what we're
those are
doing
my,
here. It's like it's a video thing that you can do through
yes,
Zoom and interact directly with the client.
yep,
That's
yep.
cool.
So yeah,
Great.
yourtappingjourney.com. There's also a What is EFT page there so you can learn more about EFT if you'd like.
Excellent. All right. Well, first I want to thank you for sharing all your insights, Ruthie. This has been really cool, and I've gotten a good education about tapping that I didn't have before. I mean, I knew something about EFT. I'd done a little reading, but you clarified quite a bit. So thank you for doing that. I
You are
appreciate that.
welcome. This has
And
been
thank you
fun.
too.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, isn't it fun? I just love doing this stuff. It's great. I get so jazzed. It's amazing. I do 10 of these shows a week. Can you believe that?
Wow.
But I want to also thank our live stream audience, and I had to pass along a couple messages. First of all, Jeffrey said, "Yay, I have family in Fayetteville," so you have a connection there in North Carolina.
To North
And
Carolina. Yeah.
he also was talking about how, let's see, what was he referring to? Oh, he was talking about gratitude and appreciation. He said, gratitude appreciates like money does. He says, feel the differences between the statements I am grateful and I appreciate. Both are positive statements, but appreciate for me feels like growth over time. Also feels like I'm adding value to the things I am grateful for. So that'll give you a little food
I
for thought.
love that.
What you can
Yeah,
finish on.
because you
Is that
want your
good?
money to appreciate. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
beautiful. Thank you,
I think it's
Jeffrey.
really good. So just wanted to share that. And I don't really see anything else there that I want to really emphasize other than people who are appreciating it. So thank you once again for sharing it. Thank you to our live stream audience. Thank you to our podcast audience, which of course is where most of our listeners are. We appreciate you as well. And we'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.